right, guys, last video here. Hopefully you liked this setup. I realized last week's video was 22 minutes long, and so my idea is breaking it up into smaller parts. Maybe will help you better. The last thing we are focusing on for this week right now is the Manhattan Project. Now, I talked about the Battle of Okinawa in my last video, and the Japanese suffered 77,000 casualties, but they still weren't showing signs of giving up. So America had two decisions in front of them. Do we invade Tokyo? Do we invade Japan and risk the lives of many, many, many more American soldiers? Or do we do something that's way controversial but could definitely end the war a lot sooner? Again, if you know anything about history or if you know anything about those two words on the screen right now, you know which route they took, right? We're talking about the Manhattan Project, all right? This is a weapon of mass destruction, and this is where they created the very first nuclear bombs. Now, this was originally a Nazi scientist recipe, the nuclear bombs. But if you've ever heard of a dude named Albert Einstein, you know, the E equals MC square guy, he was German and also a Jew. And he got word from the Nazi government that they were trying to build a weapon that would be hotter than 1,000 suns, right? And so Albert Einstein wrote a letter to our President Roosevelt warning him, like, hey, this is what the Nazis are building. Now, quick pause here, time out. Can you imagine what the world would have looked like if the Nazis got the atomic bomb before us? Now, atomic bombs are terrible, and right, they're awful, and we'll talk more about them when we get to the Cold War here. But at least we had them. Now, I know America has a lot of flaws in our history, and by a lot, I mean a crap ton of flaws. But we're not as bad as the Nazis. So just imagine what that would look like right now. Would we even be here right now? Or would we all have like 3 eyes on our forehead? Who knows? So anyway, going back to this, after Einstein warned us of this, we started immediately making them. All right, we started the Manhattan Project, the creation of these atomic bombs, right? So in 1942, and it lasted all the way until the year after World War II, 1946. We got the Trinity test, which is the first ever detonation of a nuclear bomb ever. We did beat the Nazis to it, obviously. Hitler and his scientists had a few other issues to worry about at the time, like, you know, the impending Soviet invasion of Berlin. Anyway, so in July of 1945, we tested these bombs, right? Now, this is one of the things that started the Cold War, and I'll get more to that later, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Stalin was pissed about this, all right? So we got 2 bombs ready to go. We got Little Boy and Fat Man. Yes, those were the actual names of the bombs. They were ginormous. There's a video of it. There is no sound there. We got the famous scientist. I put him in here because it's kind of interesting. His famous quote was, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. He was the main physicist behind this. It's very interesting. Again, when they saw this detonation go off, he wrote their reaction. Some people laughed, some cried, but most were silent when the first detonation went off because they had created a bomb so powerful and never before used or seen or even thought of by most humans, right? Holy crap, they knew the power that this could do, okay? And they also knew the danger that could come from having such a power, right? With great power comes great danger, right? And great threats. And again, we'll get to that when we get to the Cold War. But just think of how eerie that was, right? There he is there with his fancy physics writing in the background. I'm assuming it's physics. And then, of course, the famous mushroom cloud that came from it. On August 6, 1945, instead of invading Tokyo, we never invaded the mainland of Japan. Okay, we bombed the crap out of Japan with a lot of incendiary bombs and, you know, whatever. But on August 6th, because Japan still wasn't giving up, we dropped the very first nuclear bomb ever in history on the town of Hiroshima. All right. What's really sad about this, a lot of the casualties came from people thought that it was a real plane, right? So a lot of people went into their bomb shelters, right, when they first heard the warning go off. But after like an hour, nothing happened. And they got up and realized it was just a weather plane flying over Hiroshima, right, to give you that day's weather forecast. So people were like, false alarm? Okay. And so they went about their day again. Well, it was when they went back to their normal schedule, that little boy was dropped on Hiroshima. after that happened, it didn't really actually affect the government of Japan. Emperor Hirohito, it's not like he didn't care. I don't want to say he was just like, yeah, whatever, those people were incinerated, who cares? But he was like, okay, that's not going to stop us, like, whatever. 3 days later, on August 9th, we dropped Fat Man on Nagasaki. All right, the second nuclear bomb. Now, what made Japan realize that, holy crap, we should stop, one, what it was doing to the survivors of the bombs, and two, they dropped another bomb on us in the course of 3 days. Do they have more? Right? We didn't, but they didn't know that, right? So eventually Japan decided to surrender. And a peace treaty was officially signed in early September of 1945. Now, talking about the bombs again, as you can see there, about 129,000 to 226,000 casualties from this. Casualties means dead or injured, all right? If you survived this bomb, if you were lucky enough to survive this, a lot of people died in the following months due to burns or radiation sickness. And radiation sickness here, I'm mostly talking about leukemia, the cancer. All right. So you either died super quickly or super slow and painfully. It was not good, right? War was over because Japan's like, yikes. So here's some of the damage caused by it. But I want to talk a little bit about this picture. As you can see here, at the detonation, so when the bomb goes boom, okay, temperatures at the very core of that bomb going boom reached several million degrees, literally hotter than the surface of the sun. And so if you were anywhere near that that fire burst, the initial boom of the bomb, you were incinerated, aka turned into a pile of dust. Nagasaki and Hiroshima both have pieces of cement still. They moved them, right, so they wouldn't be damaged by the rain or whatever, where you can see the remains of a human body. That's literally the remains of a human body. They were turned to dust because it was so hot. That is why it's called a weapon of mass destruction, because of the destruction it causes. All right. The world was never the same after the detonation of these two bombs. The good news, it ended World War II, the bloodiest conflict in human history, deadliest, costliest. It was terrible, right? The bad news is what it caused, right? History is all about cause and effect, and it caused a period of tension that I would argue we are definitely still living to this day. Bear with me, though, with that. All right. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, email me, whatever. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.